Okay, welcome back to Comic Book Wednesdays. We're your hosts.
Nah.
I'm Ian,
I'm Al.
I'm Shane.
and we're back with reading the Spider-Man of the Superior kind.
A lot less
Right.
ick factor this time.
It, more badass. Um, more jackass. Uh,
Jackass badass?
maybe a little
A little
both.
bit of both.
Yeah.
Less ick, so I guess these were superior.
Yeah, I would say so.
So, real quick, guys, just broad overall thoughts of where Otto is taking the character of Spider-Man. What do you guys think?
You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You go first, Shane.
Cool. Sounds good. Um, it was really weird for me to watch Spider-Man kill a guy.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. So like having that scene come up when, with that, we'll get into it, but in the beginning, I was like, okay, like he is trying to do some of these things better than Peter. And one of the bits
succeeding.
that and succeeding, yeah. One of the bits that I thought was funny is when he was just like, "I am Dr. Peter Parker," and they were like, "No, you're not." And he's like, "Peter didn't even finish his PhD. What were you doing with your life?" And then he immediately enrolls him in school to finish his PhD, and I was like, "Wow, you're starting to give a fuck there, Doc."
Yeah, absolutely. And then he meets his weird doctor, or I guess not really his friend, but like his colleague, or
Yeah.
like, and he just starts making fun of him because he's a loser and an idiot, and not a good look for Pete, right?
Not when
No.
you're meeting your new instructor.
Yeah, not at all.
Terrible first impression.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is odd to see, it's not Peter, but Peter kill people.
Yeah, not only that, but like everyone fears him. It's not like
Yeah.
if Spider-Man showed up, they're like, "Oh shit, we don't want to get caught." Usually, and like they start fighting or running because they don't want to go to jail. Now it's we don't want to get our fucking asses beaten in black and blue by Spider-Man. So uh, let's not fuck with him. You know.
Very much like Batman on a bad day is the vibe that I was getting. Aside from the killing, of course, because I know Batman doesn't do that. But like, that was you bring up a great scene. And that was one of the ones that I screenshotted where he shows up and they were just like, "Nope, you're Spider-Man. Cool. Yep, we're sorry. We're done."
Yeah, we're just gonna go. Like we're not dealing with this. Like, or we're gonna let you take us in. But then it's just like a lot of like weird other differences too, like some good things. So it's like it feels like with this book you're like, oh shit, Otto's not superior Spider-Man, and then he does something like support Aunt May more than Peter did, and you're like, what? Is he the superior Spider-Man? Like,
And even like his tech and stuff like that. Like, yeah, Peter had some cool stuff, but like being able to track the bomb's frequency to rescue the people before the massacre didn't even know he knew about them.
right? Yeah, that's a great example. Like to be like a step ahead, which is not usually what Pete does.
No, Otto actually even mentions that where he's like, "Oh, Peter was just so from point to point to point, and figuring out what comes next, and wanting to be ahead of the game."
Yeah, and it's like, wow. Like when you think about it that way, you're like, maybe Otto is superior.
Maybe Peter will learn something when he gets his body back.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely a learning moment, a growing moment for Pete if he, gets out of this scenario.
Yeah.
It really actually kind of shocked me a little bit when, like there was the Aunt May thing where he was just like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to stop. And then he shows up at Aunt May and Peter in his mind is like, oh, I forgot. and then he was like swinging somewhere, and then he tells like one of the bots, he's just like, okay, alert, call the police ahead of time. Here's where I'm gonna be. And Peter is like, you're calling the police? I mean, that's kind of a good idea.
Why didn't I
And then
ever
it
think
seemed like
to
Otto
do
was
that?
responding to him, and he was just like, well, of course, because they're expert. They should be able to handle this, because it was when he was going after the sociopath.
Hmm.
And he was right before he got to the train station, and he was like, alert the PD, have him secure the area. And Peter was like, oh, I've never thought to call the police. And he was just like, yes, you have to use your resources. Almost like they were talking to each other.
Yeah, it's a very clever way that Dan Slott uses dialogue. Because like
Mm-hmm.
it's a way to like convey like the point to the reader where you have two separate people who are talking that might not know each other or know they're talking. You see it in other comics too, where like you'll have like two scenes going on in two separate places, but it seems like they're finishing each other's lines. But this one is literally like in his head. So like not only do you get that clever, unique way of writing, but it's also a subtle way to say that Pete is his subconscious now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
his way of thinking is being altered by Pete, just like Pete's reputation is being altered by Otto. Uh, what else do we got here? Oh, yeah, Green Goblin. Like,
Yeah.
I forgot about that for a sec.
Well, because there wasn't any other mention about it in any of the other episodes or issues.
Yeah, so that tells me that's like it's gonna come eventually. How long are we gonna have to wait? It's like
So, also, I have a question. This is 616 Parker, right?
yes, yes, it is. This is 616.
So it's not Ultimate, so that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, Ultimate Green Goblin in the Ultimate Universe is this raging
don't like-
hulking monster.
Yeah, I don't like it as much.
No, it's not as good. It's different. If you
Yeah.
saw, great example is Into the Spider Verse, where like you see Pete fighting that green monster in the beginning of that
Yeah.
movie. That's Green Goblin. So weird, but yeah. Um,
I've also yet to watch Across the Spider-Verse, so, pardon me
It's-
for that.
it is on Netflix.
Yeah, I know, I just haven't gotten to it yet.
You also, since we've talked, you've gone hunting. You've done a whole bunch. So,
Yeah, it's not like I've just been sitting around, but
yeah.
I'll get to it one of these days.
Yeah, you'll love it. It's a great movie. What else happened, guys? His new tutor, Marconi.
Yeah.
Maria Ann. She's
The midget.
yeah. She is
Little
she's
person.
a little person. Yeah.
I really thought that was interesting. Like she calls him a genius because she was like, I thought that you had just gotten in here on looks alone, but like you're actually a genius. But she created a way to like explain everything that she was doing through food, which that should be accredited in of its own right. That's creative as fuck.
Yeah. Well, she's not saying she's not a genius. She's just admitting that he is.
Yeah.
And he's, I mean, aside, like I don't know about her like scientific skill because he didn't touch on that, but he's certainly impressed with her cooking. And like even as he's swinging through the city, is like, oh my god, I can't believe she made that by scratch. This was amazing. And so I just thought that was kind of cool for him to just be like, he's so distracted, not by villains, not by upping Parker, but just because he ate something that was that good, which I just thought was kind of funny.
It's pretty great. I like that as well. Yeah, but I mean, how do you guys feel about the Pete becoming this like big brother, like spider bots everywhere, and
I was really not a fan of that when he got the guy at Horizon to do that. Like it's really not a good look for him if he gets caught doing it.
yeah, absolutely. And then he's got that. He's blackmailing the CEO of that one company.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was messed up towards the end of it.
It's dark as hell.
And like he could, the original Peter would have been like, okay, you were being blackmailed like by this person, like he was threatening to kill you, like you get a little bit of leeway there because that's kind of a messed up situation, and we have to like address the facts that this did happen to you. But instead, he was just like, I am everywhere, and I was like, okay, big brother, that's
Yeah,
a little
relax
jacked
there.
up.
Relax there, Otto.
Yeah, let's not act holier than thou. Like,
For Otto, no, never.
Yeah.
yeah, right. What else?
I
we
also
got?
want to bring up the part with the Avengers and how they're starting to notice Parker's bad behavior, I guess you want to call it. But I like the fact that of course, me being an X-Men guy, that Wolverine was like, hold on, we've all done worse shit than this, and we're gonna bail on Peter at this moment of his falter. Like, come on, guys. And
Yeah,
then later in the issue, he's like, I think we need to bring him in.
Yeah, so he has the whole like those without sin cast the first stone. He has that
Right.
moment, and then Pete does, or Otto does, what everybody who's played Spider-Man 2018 has wanted to do, is beat the shit out of Screwball, and
Yep.
Yep.
and then Wolverine's like, up, we gotta bring him in, like
He crossed the line.
he crossed the line. Annoying NPCs shall not be beat to death.
Yeah. We can't do that.
Oh my god,
shit.
you're right. That is exactly what it was. I will say in that scene, one of the reasons I did kind of like it. I mean, aside from like you said, Spider-Man 2018 screwball flashbacks, but you got to see part of Otto's trauma again coming through of like getting bullied and how Screwball was just doing it just for the likes, just for
Yeah.
just
Well,
just
I
for
mean,
a rise
even
out of people.
you got that with when his tutor got out of the car and the bullies were making fun of him. Then he locked them in the trunk and flipped the car.
Mm-hmm.
And that little flashback there too.
Yeah, we're getting really cool like background information on Otto, like seeing what makes him the way he is, showing that yeah, he's a bad dude, but he's more than just a bad dude. He's very complicated for what he is, and like we're getting justifications in his mind for why he acts the way he does. I'm not saying they're right, but he's got reason for what he does,
Yep, he definitely does.
Well, I don't know if I have much more to say other than like I'm curious to see what Green Goblin does to test Otto, because in my mind Green Goblin is the antithesis of Spider-Man. He is that like even though Venom is built to be that character, I think Norman does it more iconically.
Well, and also isn't Norman's and Osborn's in certain comics very like they don't get along and are at each other's throats and
With Norman and Otto, right? Is
Yeah.
what you're saying? Yeah,
yeah.
they are not buddies at all. The famous showing of that now is Spider-Man 2018.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
is very much how their relationship is typically. Like they're at each other's necks.
So it'll be interesting to see, Norman thinking he's dealing with Parker and actually dealing with Otto, and how Otto responds to that.
Right. Like Norman usually has the one up on him, so we see if like the spider abilities might give him something like over the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
You bring up a really good point because he is essentially just, Spider-Man's, like he's essentially Joker to Spider-Man. Like if we were to compare it that way, And so with Otto realizing that, Spider-Man holds back and that he's not using like the full extent of everything, is he just gonna kill him? Because I did like the line. I think it was either Green Goblin or Hobgoblin, and somebody who was pretending to be them, and he was just like, "Wow, with the way that Spider-Man's treating criminals, like I wonder if it even pays to be a villain anymore."
Yeah.
I think he was like one of the camera guys or whatever. So
Yeah, he
I'm
was
really
Yeah.
curious to see what happens there.
Hobgoblin. Yeah. Yeah, I am
That's
too.
interesting.
Um,
Does he
We'll see.
become? You've read this before, right, Ian?
yes, I have.
Does Hobgoblin become more of a character?
I don't remember. It's
Okay.
been a while.
Man.
I remember the broad strokes of the brush.
Right.
That said, um, next week we're getting into issues 7, 8, and 9. There is a strange issue that is in between 6 and 7. It is like 6 U or something like that, or 6AU. That stands for Age of Ultron. Um,
Okay.
it's the comic line that the Avengers movie was named after. Um, has nothing to do with what the movie was. It's this like post-apocalyptic alternate timeline story where Ultron takes over and like New York is fucked, um, and that's where that Spider-Man story takes place. So just skip that and go right to 7 because it's just gonna pick right back up where we left off.
Gotcha.
All right. Well,
Sweet.
anything else, guys?
That's it for me.
No, that covered it really well.
Cool. Okay, that's it for me too. Yep, that was everything on Superior Spider-Man this week. This was Comic Book Wednesdays. Again, we're your hosts. I'm Ian.
I'm Al.
And I'm Shane.
Good night, everybody.
There you go.